Hello everyone, it's Annie and I'm here with my September wrap-up. So I have full witchy vibes today. My hat, my sword earrings, snake and nails, and this crop top that I made, which I'm very proud of. It has this snake mesh. I'm so excited about it. I also made a matching skirt, which I will hopefully be wearing the whole outfit in my Gothtober vlog that is coming up. So I'm really excited. Because I read a lot of like creepy fall vibe books in September, of course, so I'm really excited to talk to them about you today. As always, I am going from my least favorite books to my favorites of the month, so stay tuned till the end to see my absolute favorite books of the month. I had some really stellar ones and some really average ones this month, so my average rating was a 3.7. which is not that great. I did have some 5 stars though, which was good, but I also had a DNF, which was very sadly, just like last month, my book club, the Found in Translations book club pick for September, which is House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Oh, I'm so sorry. I will try another Allende book in the future, I promise. Violetta sounds very interesting, more up my alley probably, but this book just was not grabbing me. I read the first 2 chapters, which was the first 20% of the book, so like I gave it a good college try. I just couldn't get into it. The writing was gorgeous, very beautiful writing, obviously a very talented author, definitely deserves all the accolades she gets. It just wasn't for me at this moment. Maybe in the future I'll pick it up, but for now it's a DNF. So now I have 2 2-star books, so not terrible. The first one is I'm the Girl by Courtney Summers, which was very disappointing to me. I got this on NetGalley, and it just didn't work for me. I said in my review that I really admire Courtney Summers. Of course, she wrote Sadie, which is a 5-star book for me, and also a lot of other people. It's honestly a masterpiece of YA thriller and angry girl genres. And this is kind of in the same vein, also a YA thriller, except this one is sapphic, so I did read it. No, I did not. I did not end up reading this for my sapphic reading vlog, so I'll give you all the details here. I really appreciate what Courtney Summers was trying to do. This book deals with extremely difficult topics, lots of trigger warnings for sexual assault, child pornography, basically incest, like everything that you could possibly think of. It is very disturbing, and it was really hard to read. And I admire that Courtney Summers does not shy away from difficult topics, especially in the YA setting. I admire that, but reading this felt like getting punched in the face repeatedly. It was just not an enjoyable experience. So the writing was beautiful. I really liked the side bittersweet kind of small romance that was going on between the 2 main girls, because the story is basically that this girl finds the body of a young teenager on the side of the road, and basically she and the older sister of the dead girl that she found kind of team up almost to find out what really happened and who the killer was. Anyway, it's just really disturbing, and I'm not going to discourage you from picking it up, but definitely be mindful of the content before you do. Okay, and the second 2-star, I actually would discourage you from picking up. It is Fish Swimming in Dappled Sunlight, which is such a shame because I was so excited about reading this. This is by Riku Onna, which also, she wrote the Aosawa Murders, and I really wanted to read that, but this just caught my eye. The cover is so cool, and it just sounded really interesting. It all takes place over one night, and it's about these 2 people who were out somewhere, and then someone died while they were the only ones with that person, and they know that one or the other of them was the murderer, and they each think that the other did it, so they're trying to figure out what happened. Now that sounds like an awesome premise. That sounds so interesting, like it could be done so well, but this book just wasn't good. I don't know if it was the translation. I haven't read it in Japanese. I don't have a Japanese copy, but I kind of wish I did so I could compare, because I do speak Japanese, so I would be really interested in seeing how faithful a translation really is. I have a feeling it's not, and it just was terrible. I have not seen a lot of people say the big thing that I think is the reason why this has such a terrible rating on Goodreads. I guess it could be considered a spoiler, so just for the next 15 or 20 seconds, if you don't want to hear it, you can skip ahead. But the problem is that this book has an incestuous couple as the main two characters. They are a couple and they are brother and sister. Yeah, I did not sign up for that. And like it's handled in a way that like obviously the author is not supporting that, but it was just, I really wish I had known that it was that going into it. Like I wish that the synopsis had said it, because I would not have picked it up. So there you go. That's the information that you probably need to determine whether or not you want to read this book. Okay, so now onto the 3-star reads for September. First, I want to talk about the 2 books that I did read for my Sapphic reading vlog, so I will link it up here so you can watch that for more details and more thoughts. But I read These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall, which was compared to Knives Out and The Haunting of Hill House, which are 2 things that I liked very much, especially Hill House, and it is Sapphic, of course. So it was pretty good. I just did not think it was scary. Like it felt kind of telling rather than showing, and it just I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. I liked the sapphic romance in there. I thought it was very cute and really nice, but the twist I did not enjoy. There's a twist at the end, like the big reveal, and it just didn't work for me how it was handled in the story. So there you go. That's why it's a 3-star, even though it was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Very sad. I also read for that vlog Extasia by Claire Legrand. Yes, we all know Claire Legrand, who wrote the Sawkill Girls, which is such a great YA sapphic horror. This book is not as good, in my opinion. It has similar vibes to Slewfoot, which is another book I'll be talking about later on, and The Year of the Witching, which I personally really liked, so I wanted to like this so much, but it just was a little bit of a mess, let's say. This is in a neo-Puritan world, so it feels like you're in like the 1600s in Puritan, you know, sexist, religious, crazy cult land, but it's actually kind of a dystopia. It's after the end of the world, and these people have kind of regressed into a Puritan-like cult, and it was just kind of a mess. I appreciate the ideas behind it a lot, I really do, and I liked the female rage that was in there, but the execution just didn't work for me, so again, if you want to hear my more thoughts about those 2 books, definitely check out my vlog. And then I have a really short little nonfiction book called Owls, Our Most Enchanting Bird by Matt Sewell. And this is a really cute book. It took me like 10-15 minutes to read. It's mostly really cute illustrations and just little tidbits of information about all these different owl species. It was good. Like, it was really cute. I just, you know, it was fine. Like, I didn't love it, but it wasn't bad by any means. It was just an average book. Nothing really more to say about it. The illustrations are really cute though, so I do recommend it. Okay, so now we have The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, which I wasn't planning on reading, but I read it because Books and Lala gave it 5 stars. And it was just fine. Basically, the story is that this is written as like a memoir from this fictional character named Art, and his friend Mercy found it years later as adults. So it starts with them as teenagers. She found it as an adult, and she's like making notes in the margins about these instances in their life that he's writing about. And I think it was fine. It's marketed as a horror, but I don't think it's a horror novel. The title is because Art and Mercy and a couple other friends from their school join this pallbearers club at local funeral homes to attend funerals for like homeless people or people who don't have any relatives to attend their funerals. And that's a really interesting concept, but it's a very small part of the book. I just think it was not what I wanted from the book. The premise is that Arch believes Mercy is a vampire or some other paranormal creature, and Mercy is like not that. She's just a normal person. So like there's a lot of speculation and on the reader's part. And you can kind of draw your own conclusions, which I do appreciate from the ending, especially. The ending was really good. I'll give it that. The ending was really, really good for the book. But yeah, I don't think it's terrible. Like a lot of people seem to really hate it, which I don't think it deserves. It was just fine. It was interesting. I mean, it definitely kept my interest up and I was wondering what was going to happen. So yeah, I enjoyed this. And then we have Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. The cover, first of all, I have to talk about this bubblegum pink. Love it. I love when books do that, especially for like kind of harder genres like horror and sci-fi. I just love that. So this is basically about a girl whose father is a convicted serial killer and she hasn't been home in like, I don't know how many years, like 20 years. She's kind of left that behind her. And one day her mom, who she hasn't talked to since she left home, calls her back to come home because she's dying. So she goes back to the house and weird things start happening. Now, I think my issue with this book is that it was marketed as more of a thriller, as more of like her father was a serial killer, but like there's a mystery that she still has to solve, or like that the reader still has to solve. And there definitely was that aspect to it as well, but it's also like the house is alive and there's like something supernatural going on, which if I was prepared for, I probably would have been okay with, but I wasn't. I didn't think that it was going to be a supernatural horror. I thought it was more going to be like a thriller-esque, true crime-esque horror. So I was just kind of thrown for a loop a little bit. But I do think this book was done really well. It was definitely very creepy and scary at parts. So I did enjoy it. It just, you know, it was okay. It was fine. Okay, now we have 3.5, which is a novella called Prosper's Demon by KJ Parker. I picked this up purely because of the cover, let's be honest. Coolest cover ever. I've been wanting to read this for a while, and it's really hard to explain what exactly it's about, but it is kind of a horror fantasy, actually. It's about this exorcist who can see these demons in this fantasy world that they live in and basically exorcise them. And the caveat is that the main character, this exorcist who's supposedly doing a good service for the world and society, is actually a sociopath, and they're like kind of evil themselves. It was interesting. It just, I feel like there's like a lot of world building in there that, since it's a novella, kind of either didn't need to be there, or if the author really wanted it to be there, like if it was super necessary for him, then he should have just made it a long full-length novel. So we got like the juicy parts of it, you know what I mean? You know, the length of it kind of did it a disservice rather than enhance the story. So that's my feelings on it. I did like it. I liked where it went. I thought it was a super interesting and creative concept. And I loved how it started as well. The opening line hooks you right in, but I do kind of wish it was either a short story or a longer novel rather than what it is, a novella. Okay, now we have 3 4-stars. So first we have In the House, in the Dark of the Woods by Laird Hunt. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I read this for the Buzzword-a-thon prompt, which is dark or light. So this was perfect. It was also pretty short. I think it is considered a novella. It was really good. It has a terrible rating on Goodreads, but it's so good. Like, I don't understand. Like, it wasn't perfect, but I thought it was great. I think people don't like it because you kind of don't know what's going on for most of it, but I tend to like books like that, especially horror. I think it makes it a little bit more creepy, a little bit more scary. I really enjoyed it. It is also kind of that Puritan-esque female rage type of thing. You see a theme going on, which I really, really like. It is about this woman who is out picking berries one day, and she gets separated from her family. You don't know, like, did she purposefully run away? Did she get lost? Who knows? But she meets this other woman who is a witch in the dark of the woods, and it goes from there, and it's so good. First of all, this cover, creepy, atmospheric, amazing. I love it. It was really good. If you like witchy books, absolutely pick this up. I don't see really anybody recommending this, but it was really good, so I highly recommend this. And then in between all the horror books, I wanted to read something a little bit lighter. So I had the arc for Marikit and the Ocean of Stars on NetGalley, and this is a really cute middle grade. It's definitely on the younger side of middle grade because the main character, Marikit, the whole book takes place on her 10th birthday. So like she's 9 and 10 years old. So it's definitely on the younger side, which I should have known because I read the synopsis before I read it, but my brain just didn't put two and two together. But like, yeah, my rating does not reflect that at all. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very cute. Definitely had Ghibli vibes because she gets kind of transported into this magical world of the Encantos, which is like a magical land in Filipino folklore, which is what the book is inspired by. And she has to find her way home back to her mom. And it was really cute. Like, she goes on this journey and she finds all these magical friends along the way. And I thought it was really cute. I think Marikit herself, I feel like, yeah, she's a kid, but it's obvious the lessons she needed to learn during the book. And I just feel like there were times when she maybe should have learned them a little bit faster. Like, it felt like she was being purposefully obtuse about it. I don't know. But anyway, it's a kid's book and it was really good, so 4 stars. And then the last 4-star book was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. My first T. Kingfisher book, definitely going to read more from her. It was really good. And it has a non-binary protagonist, which is amazing. This is a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe story, which I have not read, something about the House of Usher. And this follows a soldier in this kind of made-up country, and they go back to one of their old friends' houses in this creepy forest, and they're surrounded by a creepy lake and creepy weird bunnies and creepy mushrooms. And they go back to their house because they got a letter saying that his sister was dying, like their friend's sister was dying. And when they get there, the sister like obviously has something really weird wrong with her, and the friend also has something wrong with him, and it's just like this big mystery that the protagonist has to solve, and it's really creepy, really atmospheric. You can tell from the cover it has something to do with mushrooms, so if you like evil mushroom stories, you will love this book. It was really well done. Again, it's a novella, so it's super quick read. So what are you waiting for? Okay, so now I have 2 4.5-star books, which are books that I loved. I just wanted them to be perfect, and they just weren't perfect for me. Maybe they will be upon a reread, who knows? But for now, they're 4.5s. So first, we have The River Has Teeth by Erica Waters, which I read for my Sapphic reading vlog. And this book, guys, was so good. It was so, so good. Again, that female rage. It is very witchy as well, and Southern Gothic. It is about this girl whose sister has gone missing, and she's trying to figure out where she is. And she meets this girl who lives in like kind of this rundown house at the edge of the woods, sensing a theme here. And her family is a bunch of witches who are not really well liked by this town. And she is a suspect in her sister's disappearance. But the 2 girls actually team up together, and fall in love, which is great. I loved the two characters. The two characters were so good. They were so different from each other, but they had their own distinct personalities, and they were both so strong. They were so great. Erica Waters is a great, great author, and this book has definitely made me want to pick up her other ones. So definitely check out my vlog for more of my thoughts on this, but I highly recommend this if you're looking for a really good YA horror / witchy book. This is so good and very much slept on for no good reason. And then we have Slewfoot by Baram, which is, surprise, another witchy / Puritan culty vibes book. This is so good. It takes place in a Puritan colony in Connecticut, and this girl's husband dies under mysterious circumstances, and everybody is starting to believe that she is a witch and that she communes with the devil. And it is so terrifying to just see what she deals with and see these closed-minded people just attacking her for absolutely no good reason, just because they want someone to attack. It is so good. Especially because I read it in conjunction with the next book I will be talking about. But oh my god, it's amazing. I did read it on audio, but I am going to be buying the physical book because, first of all, the cover is gorgeous. One of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. I kind of want it tattooed on me, but the illustrations also, which I really want to hold in my hands and see, are supposedly really beautiful throughout the whole book. So basically, this main character and this mysterious demon, maybe creature named Slewfoot, kind of get together, and who knows, maybe they exact revenge upon the town. Oh, it is so good. I highly, highly recommend this book. Really one of the standouts. Okay, so now for the 5-star books. The book I read in conjunction with Slewfoot is In Defense of Witches by Mona Chollet, which is a French translated nonfiction book. It is about how the history of Salem witch trials and also just witch trials around the world have affected the way women are treated today. A really good look at sexism and misogyny in today's society. That people may not even be aware of just because it's so widely accepted as the norm that we don't even think about it. Even women don't think about it. There are so many great conversations to be had in this book, such as medicine and women, how like women are not treated the same as men in doctors' offices, how we're often dismissed or gaslighted or given painful procedures without pain medication, whereas men have pain medication for really non-invasive procedures. The question of whether or not women should have children or not, and all of this really interesting stuff that are very important, especially today. So I really highly recommend this book. It is so, so good. And I don't see enough people talking about it. It's just amazing. It's one of my favorite nonfiction books I've read in a really, really long time. And Mona Chollet definitely knows what she's talking about, so give it a read. Okay, last two. First, we have another arc, The Picture Bride, which is translated from Korean. It is by Lee Geum-yi, and it is a historical fiction, so a little bit of a departure. It was so good. It is about picture brides, which I did not know about at all. So they are before World War II, during the Japanese occupation of Korea, a lot of Korean men went over to Hawaii to work on the plantations, and they had picture brides. So they sent pictures of themselves back to matchmakers in Korea, who then contacted eligible women in Korea to basically agree to marry these men without even having met them or seen them. And a lot of times these pictures of these men wouldn't be them, or would be a picture of them from like 20, 30 years ago. So the women would often show up in Hawaii expecting a nice husband, and instead they get this old man. But anyway, it was so good. I really loved the characters, especially the main character. She was super strong, just well-rounded. She wants to be a good wife, but she also demands respect, and it is just so well done. I don't see a lot of people talking about this book. Of course, it has not been released yet. It's getting released October 11th, and if you are a fan of Pachinko by Mi-jin Lee, or if you liked The Mermaid from Jeju, or The Mermaid of Jeju, you would really like this book. I'm a big Korean history buff, so of course it was up my alley, but I just loved it. The characters were amazing. The storytelling really has you hooked throughout the whole entire book, and you learn a ton as well about the historical happenings of this era. It's just so good, and I highly, highly recommend it. So, the best book I read this month, can you guess? It was Babel, or Babel, by R.F. Kuang. Yes, the Queen is back with a new book, and it was very long, but absolutely 5 stars. It was an amazing dark academia that tackles really difficult themes like colonialism, and the story is a little bit convoluted, but in basic stripped bare terms, it is about this boy named Robin whose family dies back in Canton, and he is brought back by this mysterious British man, brought back to London, and he's basically forced to study for years and years in order to get into this higher institution of learning, which is a school in Oxford called Babel. And this institution in Oxford is specifically for translation. So already I loved it because I studied linguistics in university. I specifically studied translation, and so this was just way up my alley. Has so many great, very important things to say about the socio-political aspect of translation, the colonial aspect of translation. It was just amazing. I loved the characters. We have Robin, the main character, who is of course Chinese. He has a Indian friend slash roommate named Rami, and I just loved him. He was my favorite character. And then we also have 2 girls who I thought that was very interesting that R.F. Kuang wrote from a boy's perspective as the main character, but she also has girls in there as well to kind of show how life was like for women at the time as well, and not just male minorities, but also women. I thought that was very interesting and very well done. The dynamics between all 4 of the main group of characters was so good, so well done. They all felt extremely real and complex, and oh my god, the book just, it's amazing. I've heard some people say that in the beginning it's a little bit slow, and yeah, I guess it is, but my god, when the book picks up, it just hits the ground running, and it's just like your heart beats so fast while you're reading it. It is like crazy. It is so good. And the end, oh my god, I really liked the ending. It was very exciting. So yeah, there are very difficult topics involved, but it's also just a straight up exciting fantasy book too. It's super good. One of my favorite books I've read in a really long time, and of course it was a 5-star prediction, so I'm really glad that it lived up to the hype. It's just a gorgeous book that everyone should read. Please read this. It's so worth it. So that is it for my September wrap-up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed the books I read this month, and in October I'm reading even more spooky books, so stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for my Gothtober reading vlog. So if you liked my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!